of the central themes of Kung Fu is about creating your own path. How did you discover your passion for the arts and storytelling?
It was through not knowing what I wanted to do after school. Parents put a lot of time and money into making me go to a private school back in Australia. I just knew I didn't want to do anything academic. So the school that I was at had a lot of different like extracurricular activities and facilities. And I was like, I'm going to take advantage of all of that. And so I did all sorts of sports, debating, not that I was any good at that, chess, I was okay at. And then like there was one thing that was on the bulletin board that was like, hey, do you want to be in a play? And I'm like, I don't really know what that involves or what that looks like. And I gave it a go and got like the lead of that play. And I was like really excited and I did it. And it was a lot of fun. And I was like, maybe I could do this some more. And then realized that jobs are few and far between. So it was a bit of a wake up call, but also like, I don't know, I didn't really mind. I was like, I'm happy to take this path. And it was really interesting because once I got my agent and, there was a bit of a journey to get there. But once I got my agent, he was like, so we're going to put you up for lead roles. And I was like, oh no, I'm like, it was really interesting because I'm, being Asian and Asian Australian, I knew there weren't very many roles for me. So my value of myself was very much like, I'm happy with like side roles. Like I don't need any, I'm happy to like be featured on the side or whatever. And my agent was, Clinton was like, nah, you would suit leading man stuff. You should go up for that. I see what you mean, but you need to give more value to yourself. And from that point onwards, I was like, all right, cool. So that's when we started going for a bit more meatier roles, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you're one of the leads of Kung Fu, and the showrunners and writers have created this really collaborative environment where all the actors get to bring a little bit of themselves to the character. We know Ryan has an affinity for sneakers, as you do as well. What was something else that you brought to him that wasn't originally on the page that made him feel more authentic to you?
Sides that I read just was very much in my own voice. I was like, oh, I would say these things. And so I did the audition just like, I'm gonna do it like myself, and then let's just see what happens. And before you know it, like I was being flown to LA to do some more auditions, and then got the role, which I'm like super grateful for. And that was really cool. Afterwards, when we were about to film the pilot, we had a dinner with like the showrunners, and Christina was there, Christina Kim, and she was like, I want you to let you know, like we saw a lot of audition tapes, and as soon as we saw yours from Australia, I just knew that like you were Ryan. And that was really touching for me to hear. I was like, oh my goodness, that's like amazing. But what it communicated was like, oh, whatever I did then, I'm gonna just keep doing. And so what brings Ryan is just a lot of my own personality into that. And so yeah, that's that there.
A great answer. And something I think the show doesn't get enough credit for is how it incorporates levity and humor in this midst of this really high stakes world. Has comedy always come easy for you? What was more challenging for you, comedy or mastering the American accent?
That's a trick question. Well, I grew up watching American TV, and so having that in my ear at all times, I wouldn't say it was like easy to pick up, but like there were just a lot of nuances that just sort of came naturally. And then with a bit of tweaking and training, it was like, oh, cool. Okay, well, we can play around with that, and hopefully it fools some people. But comedy is really hard to do, and there's, even though there are comedic moments that you see in the show, there are a lot of times that didn't make the cut because it was like, oh, that wasn't very funny. So there's a lot more of those times than like comedic times. So if we were to compare an easiness, I would say doing an American accent would be easier than doing comedy.
On the flip side, there's also these really emotional moments as well. And there's a particular scene in episode 108 where Ryan and his father are having this heart to heart. And Ryan is explaining how he found comfort and safety in keeping a piece of himself secret. And you handle that with so much nuance. As an actor, how did you create the space for yourself to dive into that scene in particular and bring so much authenticity to it?
I really like what Bradley Gibson said to me once, and who plays Joe in season 1. And he was like, we're here to fulfill a fantasy. And I really like the way that he sort of phrased that. We're here to, make fantasies come true in a sense. And we're here to live that fantasy. So when it comes to any scene, for me, I'm like, how do I extract truth from this? Even though I might not have experienced it, how do I extract truth? And with what I know and do, a lot of it is just listening and reacting and suspending the disbelief. And how much disbelief can you suspend when all these cameras are pointing at you, so many people in your room touching your face, doing all sorts of things. And it's like, in that moment when they're shooting, how do I just put that all away? And then we're here now. Ryan's with his dad. Ryan's gonna receive this information from his dad. He's gonna react that way. And so having such a great acting scene partner like Taimar, and having him portray, you know, in my mind, a father figure saying that he loves me, that's enough material there to produce anything that sort of comes up. So whilst you do mention nuance and stuff, it's not something that I sort of premeditate and like, oh, I make sure I hit these beats and whatever else. It's just kind of not how I operate. It's just whatever truth is in the moment at that time is what you're going to get. And so that's kind of how that
this show has meant such a great deal to various communities that want to see their stories told. What has it meant for you to be a part of a project like this?
It's pretty huge, man. Like, to know that, you know, we're one of the, I think we're the first all Asian cast in drama.
Yeah.
To have our all Asian family depicted on screen is really cool as well. I mean, I watched a lot of TV growing up, and I imagine a lot of other people do too. And I never noticed how much we were lacking in that space once I saw someone in that space. And I was like, why don't I see myself in these situations? Like, you know, I can see superhero movies all day and be like, cool, that could be me. But then it's like, if you really see like someone who kind of looks like you, you really feel represented. So it's a great deal to be able to produce something like this and to have audiences be able to see themselves on screen.
This season, we're seeing Ryan helping Nicky and his community in new ways. How much fun has it been for you to be able to get in on the action? And did that change the preparation heading into the season?
Man, it was so much fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I love intimate scenes, one-on-one scenes and stuff to do with relationships. But I also love variety, and to get involved in the action of things is really fun and cool. And getting to work with different actors in that space has been really nice. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I don't think I've really prepared anything on top. It's just, how do we extract as much fun out of this, and that way it can sort of naturally come off onto screen.
You and the cast are in such a unique position where you get to see the fan response in real time. And they've not only fallen in love with you and Ryan, but they're massively invested in this blossoming relationship with Sebastian. What has it been like for you to get to see that response and support from the fans?
Oh man, it's everything. It fuels us. We love seeing it. It's so nice that a lot of the responses, all the responses have been like extremely positive. I'm glad that people can relate to them. I'm glad that people can see themselves on screen through Ryan and Sebastian. And I'm glad that people are rooting for Ryan. It would be really easy to be like, oh man, that Sebastian dude, he's too good for that guy. The hot chef's too good for him. But no, it's been really nice and fun to see everyone's responses to it.